Hello and welcome to the Three Pics podcast. This podcast has grown so much that we actually have our very first ad read. And here it is right here. Are you a millennial man that is going through a midlife crisis and wants to turn a meaningless hobby into a meaningful hobby? Do you have a love of movies, comics, anything out there in pop culture that you want to turn into a podcast? Well, we have the drink for you. Millennial Man Plus is packed full of vitamin B, the blood of kangaroos, vitamin Z, K, and all sorts of amazing things to make you feel young again. Side effects include searching out jewelry like Brad Pitt wears in F1, spending way too much money on the Criterion Collection, and talking way too much about Christopher Nolan movies. This is Spoof Movies, 3 Pics.
Can't just pick one, you can't just pick two. Oh no, you gotta pick three, or we ain't picking you. 3 Pics, the podcast.
Welcome to 3 Pics, a movie podcast where each host picks 3 movies with a different category every episode. My name is Clint Tomerlin, and as always with me is Mr. Chris Kennedy. What's up, Chris?
I'm enjoying my Millennial Man Plus this morning. It's coming in the form of a soft seltzer water because I have been up all night watching spoof movies.
Nice. I've also got my strawberry sparkling water.
Oh, and you have sweetened sparkling water. What is sweetened sparkling water like?
It's 0 sugar, so I'm assuming it's just something that gives me cancer. So then now I'm not going to say the brand after making that joke, because it doesn't give you cancer. You look fresh. You look like a baby at a bris, freshly cut.
Yeah, I've got a new background. I put up some Twin Peaks curtains. I got a nice little new man chair here. This is really, I'm making my home totally my own. And I had a couple of questions from a couple of other friends, my mom, family, like, why are you getting rid of a couch and you just want a big leather chair? And I'm like, that means it prevents me from bringing anyone over. There's literally no place for you to sit. So we're not coming over to my place, which is, it's fine. I like it that way. It's fine. And if I absolutely have to, someone can fit in this big behemoth thing behind me. And I also just got back from yet another trip to Las Vegas. This one was interesting because, and the reason that we didn't put out an episode last week is I am incapable at this age of creating any kind of video on my own whatsoever. But as I was just a day or two out, I broke my toe by moving some shit around my place. I got a new PC and recording on that as well. Dropped right on my toe, and I have 2 trips to urgent care in 2 days, and it was interesting walking and hobbling all over Las Vegas with a broken toe.
That's crazy, man.
Which I was originally supposed to go to Minneapolis, and Ripley got sick, so I switched out my trip. But get this, I switched it partially because I'll be in Minneapolis now August 1st through 3rd. Because do you know what's happening in Minneapolis August 1st and 2nd?
I don't.
UWE SummerSlam.
Of course.
No, I hit a jackpot like right away whenever I was in Vegas. I won like a lot of money. And I was like, you know what? We're going to go to SummerSlam.
Okay. Respect.
But yeah, and oh man, it was the longest. Literally, I'm about to hit 350 movies on Letterboxd for the year.
Nice.
That's a lot. I think it's almost like how much I watched all of last year. But I went my longest stretch without seeing any movies. The past 6 days, I had not watched any movies whatsoever, which was very strange.
That's sad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm around I'm only around like 250, which is, I mean, for the average person, I'm sure that they're hearing that.
I think we're putting up like semi-pro numbers on Letterboxd. We gotta be in like the top like 5% or something like that.
Gotta be a way for me to make money off of this. It's just too good.
Maybe if I watch more movies, I'll make more money and we'll get another 1 million subscribers on our quaint little podcast.
Yeah, once we hit 2 million. 1 million really didn't feel like anything happened, but 2 million, that's the number.
The Millennial Man Plus energy drink ads, I think, are really going to start to bring in the dough. And by dough, I mean outgoing to buy more Criterion 4Ks on the Criterion sale.
Yeah,
I don't let me buy any more.
I
For fuck's sake, I've bought way too many.
no one can stop you. I have learned as your friend. Right now it is the one of two Criterion sales at Barnes and Noble, and for sure I hit it up a couple of times. I always tell myself I'm just gonna go once and then get my haul, and then I end up going back and like, well, what about this? What about this? I got some good ones. There's some new. I mean, July is a banger for Criterion releases, including the David Lynch Elephant Man, which I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited about that being on 4K.
And pro tip, you got to get on the Barnes and Noble rewards.
Yeah.
And it's free. It's totally free. They always ask me for years, and I wish I had done this for years. But every time I go in, they're like, "Do you want to do a reward?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to give you my email." But it's a totally free thing. It's not like an extra subscription each year, and it's like every $100 or so, you get $10 or something. I can't remember what the exact formula
Yeah.
is. But after I got done buying all of my Criterions, I then had $20 in rewards, which is just enough to get not a 4K, but a Blu-ray Criterion at half off. So I went back and I used that $20 and then spent like another 100.
What Blu-ray did you get?
I bought the Westworld Arrow chunky box right before there. I didn't even know there was an Arrow sale, so I did that. But I think, what did I get with that Blu-ray? Oh, For All Mankind, the documentary, the space document, the moon
Yeah.
landing documentary.
Yeah, the fake
The
moon
fake, yeah,
landing.
exactly. That the real one's coming out in that big ass Stanley Kubrick
Yeah.
coming out later this year.
Yeah, I did. I picked up Lynch, the David Lynch Oz documentary on Blu-ray from Criterion.
Yes, that's the one where every 5 minutes they make some sort of very small connection to the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, that is the exact one. But it's not, my David Lynch collection isn't complete without it. Like I need everything.
I was not the biggest fan of that one. I mean, I enjoy watching anything related
Yeah.
to David Lynch, but now that you say that, I probably did
It's
pick that up.
$15 during the sale.
Is it really? Oh,
Yeah.
see, I just said don't encourage me to buy more Criterions. For
Yeah.
fuck's sake.
I'm a
I
dealer.
do have The Art Life. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. I love that documentary. But speaking of nothing like documentaries, we're gonna get into our picks for spoof movies. It's a pretty wide genre. We kind of gave ourselves a little bit of like, let's go for the really broad, silly, joke every 30 seconds type of spoof movies, as opposed to maybe you could consider the mockumentaries that Christopher Guest does. Those are kind of spoof parody movies. There you could open it up to a pretty wide net. So we kind of focused in on some of the silliest shit that maybe y'all have seen. I think some of these were first time watches for both Chris and myself. I know one of my picks is one that surprisingly I watched as a kid, but not a lot of people, when I bring it up, they're like, I've never seen that. So I know that was a first time watch for Chris as well.
Yeah. And I struggled a little bit with sometimes I can get in the weeds. And I was struggling with what is parody versus what is spoof. I'm not going to sweat that too terribly much, but I eventually came to the reasoning in my own head that parody is something direct and singular. And spoof, as we are doing today, will hit on many things, a genre, multiple movies within, and not just something directly related. That'd be more like, we're talking about them a little later, but Weird Al did parody of specific songs. And so while there are some like references and whatnot to certain movies, these spoofs, I think, cover a wide range of like, nobody's safe here. Nobody's safe in any of these spoof movies. We're making fun of all sorts of stuff.
All right, let's start with your first pick.
All right. So this movie was completely brand new to me in doing my research for this. I actually came about it. There is a wonderful documentary right now on the Criterion channel called it's about video rental places. It's like a 3-hour documentary put out by Alex Ross Perry did it. And it's a wonderful thing just about the creation of video stores, about video stores being featured in movies. And this was one that ended up being a clip on that documentary. And I was like, that looks really actually funny and good. I'm going to check that out. And this is called Amazon Women on the Moon. And I cannot believe this is something I have not watched sooner, but this comes from the same people. And it's very much in the same vein as Kentucky Fried movie that came out in the 70s. And you've got directors working on this like Joe Dante, John Landis, Peter Horton, Robert Weiss, and like tons and tons of writers. And there's just so many stars in this movie. It literally says at the beginning credits of this movie that it stars a lot of people. Is literally what it says. And this is a bit of an anthology. I love this film, and I gave this film 5 stars on Letterboxd because it made me feel exactly what it was like to watch TV growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, on into the late 90s, where it's just late at night, you're flipping through, and there's just random ass stuff on. And so Amazon Women on the Moon is kind of like an anthology of a bunch of these little skits, and we're spoofing late night television, infomercials, old B movies that used to come on late at night. And that is where the title of the movie comes from, is that B movie in Amazon Women on the Moon is Amazon Women on the Moon. And rather than telling like one kind of through line story there on Amazon Women for the Moon, it's almost like you kind of like flip channels almost as you're watching that B movie. And some of the funniest, I was laughing out so loud as I was watching this. So just to name a couple of the performances, some of the actors and actresses that are in this, you've got Rosanna Arquette, Michelle Pfeiffer, the amazing and legendary Steve Guttenberg, Ed Begley Jr. in what is possibly my favorite skit. I'll get to that in a bit. You got some Carrie Fisher, Arsenio Hall, BB King is in this too. It's actually nuts, the amount of people that are in this. And you've got some very small cameos from some people like Dick Miller, Henry Silva, an actress that was responsible for many special moments in my life. Her name's Monique Gabrielle. And let me tell you some of the very special movies that Monique Gabrielle was in that I experienced growing up, probably at way too young of an age. But we had Body Chemistry 2. We had Emmanuel Part 5, Scream Queen Hot Tub Party. And so, yeah, Monique Gabrielle is in this, and I was just blown away. I totally forgot that she existed, but responsible for, and not only that, but she was in Night Shift. She was in Bachelor Party, Airplane 2, the sequel. But yeah, lots of great people working on this movie. We start off with Arsenio Hall in what is this spoof, Mondo Condo, and it's Arsenio Hall, and he's coming home, and it's just this kind of almost like, I don't know, like Buster Keaton-esque gag where every single thing in his apartment it goes wrong, it floods, his lights go off, things are exploding, the building begins to collapse, and it's very much kind of spoofing some like silent comedy type stuff. From there, we literally get into video piracy, because there are actual video pirates. A literal group of pirates discover home video technology, and instead of stealing the treasure, they raid the video stores and they pirate VHS tapes. And this is around the time that you started seeing a lot of the warnings on VHSs about anti-piracy. The home video rental culture had like just started to happen, but you've got pirates discussing copyright laws, pirate ships carrying televisions, and it's just like these pirates are just treating all these VHS tapes like they're treasure. We have what's another one that I like? Blacks Without Soul.
It's a good one.
Is a mock documentary that examines. It's like taking a look at people who have lost their musical soul in a certain way, and the subject is Don Simmons, played by David Alan Grier, doing some of the funniest shit, and he's like trying to sing, and what ends up happening is they end up kind of flipping it into one of those old like CD commercials where it's just David Alan Grier singing all these, I don't know, Americana, kind of white Americana songs. BB King is in there as well. And this was like This was before In Living Color, I think. This was like one of the first times anyone would have seen David Allen Greer on film. We got Murray in Videoland.
That's the old guy that goes into the TV
Well,
and
that's
he
right.
keeps
That's when
telling his
Monique
wife.
Gabrielle shows
Yeah.
up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which I think that was always just like a fantasy of like I remember watching National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and whenever he was having the dream and the woman would be coming up out of the pool, like I was just a young horny little man that I would always sometimes I would even try to get up close to the TV to see if you could actually like see down in the TV. I love this. This is kind of like a Roger and Ebert spoof here. We have Critics Corner, where these critics are actually delivering criticism on just a regular dude's life
Yeah. While he watches them.
while he watches them. It's tremendous. You've got. I'm just going to go to my absolute favorite skit in this entire movie, and that is the son of the Invisible Man, where
So good.
it's a spoof, of course, of like an old Universal horror movie, and this is where Ed Begley Jr. comes in, and he plays the son of the Invisible Man. The only issue is that the son of the Invisible Man actually can't make himself invisible, but everybody goes along with it. So he's having like invisible food fights. He's making like toys float, and like he goes to the bar. And it's my favorite thing where he's just like moving a drink, and famous character actor, I forget what his name is off the top of my head, but a famous character actor, he's like, yeah, what's going on? It must be the Invisible Man.
I love the darts. He goes up to guys playing darts and grabs a dart and goes, woo.
And literally everyone in this bar can actually see him. It's such a simple gag, but it's so funny. The other one that is a favorite of mine is actually within the end credits, where it stars Carrie Fisher, and it's kind of like an old spoof on STD sexual education videos. It's only like 82, 90 minutes. Like
Yeah.
almost all these movies are like 90 minutes long or less, which is great. And the thing I love about whenever this is successful, and the success in other spoof movies throughout, is whenever they take the comedy seriously. Like they don't play it like comedy whatsoever. And I think that's where we started to go wrong with, say, like the Scary Movie franchise. When you start getting to like part 4 and part 5 of the Scary Movie franchise, it's like they know they're joking. They're not taking it as serious as they need to. Playing comedy like this is hard to do, and it's whenever I was in theater, we would often. I mean, it's kind of a common thing to say that doing comedy is harder than drama, and so whenever you do have something executed, I think as well as Amazon Women from the Moon, man, these people are on top of their game in the late '80s, early '90s, and I just had such a blast watching this, and this was a blind watch for me as well. But Clint, what did you think about Amazon Women on the Moon?
I thought it was funny. I really liked it. So I really liked the Griffin Dunn as the doctor in the maternity ward, and Michelle Pfeiffer. She just gave birth to her baby, and he brings in a Mr. Potato Head as their baby.
It's the dude from After Hours,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. That's same. Yeah, which would have been actually near the year as well. Yeah, that one is really funny. And again, because he commits to it, and he obviously doesn't know where their baby is, and he keeps bringing in like either a potato head doll or just all these different things that are obviously not their baby. And then eventually they're like, "Oh, we found your baby like in the laundry bin," and they give it to him, and he's like, "And you guys didn't trust me," you know? Yeah, it was good. I was surprised. It's funny because the joke of Amazon Women on the Moon is that it keeps showing you scenes from this sci-fi B movie, very much like the Creature from Outer Space
Which is
vibes.
that's the whole movie thing. I would almost like to see it like all the way through
Yeah,
without the interruptions, because it's funny as shit too.
it's funny, but they keep interrupting with all these, like the channel switching, and every time it cuts back, it's like. We now bring to you without any further interruptions Amazon Women on the Moon. And then it always gets to a climactic part and then it cuts. And then when it cuts back, their characters are referencing something that you have no context for. Yeah, it's clever. I think the Son of the Invisible Man also was my favorite.
So great.
Ed Begley, just which Christopher Guest regular. Like he knows how to tap into that kind of farcical with the seriousness. It's great.
But you can't forget Joey Pants is in this
The
one,
hair
doesn't he, all
loss.
with the carpet hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I recommend Amazon Women on the Moon. I think both of us got this on Blu-ray. I got it for like it wasn't. I don't even know that it was on sale. It was just $9 on Amazon. But because this is not, I don't believe this is streaming anywhere. Kentucky Fried Movie is on Tubi. I watched that as well for this episode. But Amazon Women on the Moon, I think, is only on Blu-ray right now.
And I mean, that's just a little bit more than renting it. That's a no-brainer. I'm just gonna buy
Dude, I've
this
been
movie.
coming across like so many instances in some of the movies I've been watching lately on like Apple and Prime where it's cheaper to buy the movie than it is to rent the movie. Have you seen this? Because there was like I can't remember what I bought, but it was like $4.99 to buy, $5.99 to rent. I was like, okay.
My first pick is, I think, a great pairing. You could do a pretty fantastic double feature of these two movies in
I
a
did
night.
this double feature and it was great.
It's great. I mean, it's only like 2 hours and 40 minutes for a double feature of these two movies, and it's like you have all of 1980s channels at your fingertips as they just rotate through. This is Weird Al Yankovic's UHF, originally called Vidiot, which is a much better title, and Weird Al fought them for that, but they said that no one would know what a Vidiot is internationally. And he said, well, they're not going to know what UHF is internationally either. So studios are sometimes really stupid. This movie it's Weird Al has an uncle who is in a bunch of gambling debt and ends up getting he owns a station, like a local TV station. I know, what's that? They're still around, but I know,
What is public access?
you know, I
Is
think
that still around?
it is. It is actually. It kind of had a resurgence maybe a month ago because Stephen
Oh, yeah,
Colbert.
right. Yeah. Colbert did a thing.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
showed up on I think it was Michigan's one of their public access, but yeah, it's still around. Just not, like most things like that. It's barely hanging on. It feels like.
For all the youngins out there, public access think of it as like the very, very early, like prehistoric version of creating content for YouTube.
Yeah,
Like anyone could create content for YouTube. Back then, almost if you had a show, you could do a show.
yeah. And a lot of what ended up being like famous kids shows, especially children's programming,
Started out that way,
often
yeah.
started in public access
Mr.
and then it
Rogers,
got picked
man.
up. So yeah, Mr. Rogers. Yeah. So UHF, it's a very basic story that it's one of those classic 1980s, like, we got to get X amount of money before something bad happens. But what's great about this movie and what makes UHF work is it just keeps cutting into, as soon as Weird Al's character takes over this station, the channel 62, that they start doing their own programming. And so, apropos of nothing, like, it'll jump from one serious story beat to all of a sudden you're just watching one of their public access shows and they're doing some sort of sketch. Some really funny ones. I love Spatula City. I
Felicity.
Spatula City still makes me laugh, which it was funny, as a kid, but nowadays it's maybe even like funnier to me because we used to have these, and San Antonio had some, I think of like Billy Bob's Beds and these commercials that would play that we all knew.
What was it? Was it World Car or something? There was an old woman that would always say,
Yeah.
"Don't you buy no ugly truck."
I remember that. Dang. So yeah, it's something we kind of lost. So Spatula City is a store where they only sell spatulas, and it shows a family like having breakfast, and they don't have a spatula, and the dad gets so excited because you know what that means, and they like take a road trip to Spatula City. It's great. It's a whole store of spatulas. That's one of those things that if you just went up and talked to somebody about, you'd be like, "That's just so stupid, and why are you talking to me?" And I think that's my favorite thing about UHF is it's a movie that insists that its sense of humor is funny and you're either going to get it or you're not. And I love comedies like that because that's kind of how cult classics are born, where a group of people I think of like Tim Robinson and I Think You Should Leave. Like, there's some people that you are not going to think that's funny, but Weird Al and his team on this movie, they just commit to it. It just goes full tilt. And we talked about this guy also in the music episode, but there's a Michael Richards, very early Michael Richards performance in this. He plays the janitor of the evil station, the TV station in town, that's run by Kevin McCarthy, who is the villain of the movie. And very early on, he fires Stanley Spadowski, Michael Richards' janitor character,
Great
and
name.
Stanley Spadowski is such a good name. And he is he's just a really goofy, obviously, not the brightest guy, but a really kind guy. And so he gets a job working for Weird Al's George Newman, interesting Seinfeld reference before Seinfeld came out, our connection.
Fun fact, Seinfeld premiered the same month this movie came out.
There's also David Bowie. He's like, yeah, David Bowie. He's like, he plays Weird Al's friend, and he was that guy that just always showed up, character actor in like the 80s and 90s. That I love. One of my favorites, really weird pool, but he's at the end of the Cable Guy. He's one of the helicopter pilots that when he picks up when they rescue Jim Carrey from the satellite dish. And he's like, "You're gonna be good," and he calls him like buddy, and he's like, "Do you really mean that?" And he's like, "Yeah." I love that. That's David Bowie. Anyways, some of the other UHF shit is the Beverly Hillbillies.
I love this.
I know you said this was your favorite, right? Was the Beverly Hills Hillbillies, which is literally just a almost shot for shot parody of Money for Nothing and the Money for Nothing music video. And you really have had to have seen the music video to really appreciate how incredible they did at parodying it.
Both of these movies hit really hard if you watched any kind of actual MTV back in the day.
Yeah.
Not before ridiculousness was on 24 hours a day on MTV when we had music videos, and that's all it was.
I mean, that Money for Nothing music video was iconic. So Weird Al literally just tells the stories of the Beverly Hillbillies to Money for Nothing, which is really, really good. Really impressive production value on it, too. There's Uncle Nutsy's Clubhouse that Weird Al does, which is his failed attempt at a children's show that is rescued by Michael Richards, Stanley
Now,
Spadowski.
did you watch Bozo the Clown growing up? Because this is exactly what that is going after right now.
A little bit, but so I was actually scared of clowns when I was a kid, so I did see it, and I
was
did
a
not like it.
scary-looking clown.
Yeah, Bozo did the dub.
But you would have that. He had this very famous game where there was like 5 buckets in front of you, and you would have to throw a ball into each bucket. And as they got progressively further away, the prize would get better. And that was like the signature game on Bozo the Clown. A little bit different from the ones that they play on this one.
There's a small performance from Emo Phillips, who is like a local like shop teacher. And Weird Al is interviewing him, and he's showing him how to use a saw, and he cuts his finger, and blood just goes everywhere. And Emo Phillips goes, "Call me Mr. Butterfinger." His blood's like all over his face. And he says, "Is my face red?" Super weird, very, very specific performance from Emo Phillips. You have Raoul's Animal Kingdom. I think it's funny.
It is funny. It's questionable tactics on getting your dog to fly.
Yeah, it's obviously a joke, and so, but this guy has it's his Raoul's Animal Kingdom, and instead of like showing animals and teaching you about them, he's doing things like throwing them out of windows and horrible stuff with them.
He's teaching poodles how to fly.
Yeah,
and there's just you get I didn't realize that you got this, but you get the wide shot of the apartment and just this pile of fucking dead dogs at the bottom.
It's horrible, but it's also very funny. And then maybe this might be the shortest of them, but it's my favorite, and it's one that since I was a kid I latched onto, was Conan the Librarian. I just love that, which is just a big Conan the Barbarian as a librarian, and that's the joke.
Well, you do not know the Dewey Decimal System.
Don't you know the Dewey Decimal System? And then he cuts a guy's head off. That one's great. There's a great moment. So the villain, Kevin McCarthy, he has a real shit heel son that I thought the guy was funny. I can't remember the actor's name right now off the top of my head, but he's really funny. And there's a meeting that Kevin McCarthy has, and he's asking the room, what would, this great man who's been dead for a while, like, what would he say if he saw this? And his son goes, help, get me out of here. I'm stuck in a For whatever reason, that was maybe the thing that made me laugh the hardest. It's so stupid, but God, it's funny. Every generation has a Weird Al song that they can latch on to that they love, that they liked. But I think UHF, because it's just so kind of like right at the cusp of how big Weird Al was gonna be, it not forgotten, but it's definitely I think it's an underrated movie, you know?
Like, I had not rewatched this in probably 30 probably maybe since the early 2000s, if not the late 1990s, and I was very pleasantly surprised at how much I laughed and really I thought this one might be a little aged not so well or kinda boring. Not the case whatsoever. I loved watching this.
There's the quick, George Newman as like a Ricky Lake, Jerry Springer, talk show host, and he's like, "Lesbian Nazi hookers abducted by UFOs and forced into weight loss programs, all
Which
next
they're
week."
not far off from some of the daytime talk shows that used to be on.
Yeah, and then Michael Richards, another, which this is, a great moment is, Stanley Spadowski after he takes over the children's show, he does games like finding the marble in the oatmeal, and he tells this kid, he goes, "Joel, you found the marble in the oatmeal. You're a lucky, lucky little boy because you get to drink from the fire hose," and it blasts. This fire hose blasts the kid. So funny. You just gotta laugh at it. And there's like a lot of these 1980s movies, the underdog stories. To me, the narrative is whatever. It's fine. It's classic. It works. You kind of check out in the third act because you know it's going to work out. But it does the classic David versus Goliath. Last 20 minutes, we got to raise all this money in the movie, and comes down to the last second type of thing. So maybe that's what's aged the worst. That and the treatment of animals. They have a Blu-ray and a 4K of UHF. I checked out some deleted scenes with Weird Al having an introduction before them, and I thought it was really cool because usually, when we think of deleted scenes, the unspoken context of a deleted scene is that it was deleted for a reason. It's cool to see deleted scenes, alternate scenes, but obviously the filmmakers had a reason. And Weird Al, he introduces these deleted scenes with, "Hey, I've got like 30 to 45 minutes of deleted scenes that are deleted for a reason. I just don't think they work." And he gives commentary on why he thinks they don't work,
Oh,
which
wow.
is really cool way to do it.
What's the length of, like, on Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me Criterion? There's like an hour and 20 minutes of cut footage.
I guess, especially with comedies, often just trying things and filming it, and then I guess, being like, that just doesn't work, or, that's not funny in this context anymore, or whatever. One of the deleted scenes was like a 1980s sitcom about two gay guys, and it was just called The Gays. And it's just like a 10-second, "Coming up next week on The Gays." And it's these two gay guys, and it cuts back to Weird Al, him giving the commentary of the deleted scenes, and he goes, "Yeah, I guess the joke is that they're gay. I wonder why we cut that." Look at that. He's ahead of the curve. He could see like, what? This is so hacky. That's not funny. It's a cool going through the special features and, seeing how the reasons that he thought comedy did or didn't work is pretty cool. But yeah, UHF 1980, what, 9? So
19 in fact, we shouldn't go on without kind of mentioning the time in which this was released. It did not do it actually was, I forget who put this out. Was this Orion who put this out? It was
mhm,
one of the highest tested audiences ever for that company, but this did not do well theatrically because guess what came out during the summer of 1989?
Gandhi,
Batman. Like
Batman.
Burton Batman,
Yeah,
Michael Keaton Batman, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Ghostbusters 2, Lethal Weapon 2, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. All
crazy.
came out right before this. It just got buried. And
Yeah.
that's why it's kind of had the cult following because it's tremendous. It's just totally got released probably at the wrong time.
Yeah, and it wasn't till I think Weird Al mentioned that it wasn't till home video, that UHF even became a thing. And now, yeah, it's a cult classic, which I think a lot of these spoof movies, the good ones, in their time, they're often not successes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which I'll tell you this latest scary movie, a lot of people shit on it. I think the one that just came out is possibly the best in the entire series.
That's
I
a hot
loved it.
take.
I
Hot take.
loved it.
Hot take. I loved
Get
the
rid of those
theatrical.
Gen Zers, set them on fire.
I loved the theatrical experience of going to see it with some buddies and getting a little lit. Other than that, I don't know if that's a good movie, but I had a good time, you know?
I was very surprised at how much I like that movie.
Hell yeah.
Should also anyone that doesn't understand, I really wanted to get this in. Anyone that doesn't understand what UHF is or what UHF is, well, on televisions before we had digital, everything was in the air and all that. And so you had UHF, which is ultra high frequency, which was for the public access stuff and picking up channels that were like way, way, way far away. And you had two knobs on the TV. One was for UHF and one was for VHF. And so your VHF was for your major networks. So it was usually like channels like 2 through 13, your network affiliates. And then UHF would be like channels 14 through 85. So like the first dial would only have like 3, 5, 8 on it. We wouldn't have all the numbers, just those that were there. And also, Michael Richards, very interesting. Whenever you watch his performance, he's so singular in the way his physical comedy is and whatnot. But right before this happened, he developed, I believe it was Bell's palsy,
Wow.
and he almost didn't do it. And you can kind of see it a little bit in his performance. But Michael Richards didn't want to do it, and Weird Al convinced him to, despite the fact that he had just developed Bell's palsy, which is basically paralyzing, parts of the side of your face whenever that happens. A little interesting fact about Richard's performance there, and then going straight into Seinfeld, like literally weeks later, is
Yeah.
crazy.
And then, torpedoing it all,
And then,
being a racist.
yeah.
All right. So, what is your second pick, my friend?
All right. My second pick is probably the one this was a revisit, and it had been a long time as well since I had revisited this one. This movie is so stupid. This movie is so stupid. This is Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. Now, I watched this movie probably 30 times whenever I was in high school. This was primo DVD time whenever this came out. And weirdly enough, I don't think I've watched it since high school. And so the premise of Kung Pao, this is directed by Steve Odekirk and written by Steve Odekirk. And what he has done is basically inserted himself. This is a spoof of old martial arts movies. And he has actually inserted himself into the 1976 Hong Kong film called Tiger and Crane Fists. And basically the way they did this in the early 2000s digitally was really cool. It looked really great. Now, some of the other effects in this movie have aged incredibly poorly, but given that it's a spoof and this is not a very serious movie in any way, shape, or form, it's totally fine, but really cool the way they do that. And so Kung Pao, End of the Fist. So we start off many, many, many years ago with the chosen one, who he's a baby at the time, and his parents are murdered by the evil Master Pain, who later renames himself to Betty for some fucking reason. And that's like a running joke throughout the entire thing, because he's now Betty instead of Mr. Pain. And so the chosen one is raised to be one of the greatest kung fu fighters ever, and he has a very special ability that today I now find absolutely horrendous and disgusting and just very, very strange. But he can open his mouth and his tongue comes out, and it's got like a little eye and another little mouth and he goes like woo-wee or some shit like that.
Yeah.
It's just very stupid. So along the way, he starts to encounter some of the different characters in the movie, Ling is the Ling is the love interest who goes
oh man,
every time she comes on screen.
So stupid.
You get is it Woe? Is it Woe the one who they trained incorrectly as a joke? Meet him, and then you do end up meeting Master Tang, who kind of takes Steve Odekirk, the chosen one, under his wing. There's a CGI baby battle in this movie. There is a cow fight and dance. That's very interesting. Multiple training montages, a lot of dubbed conversations. It's very meta. It'll point out things within the movie in and of itself. There is one scene in this movie that was totally shot from scratch, and it is a scene where I can't remember why he goes to get nuts, but he asks for nuts and he shows him nuts and he goes, "That's a lot of nuts." Everything about this movie is completely and utterly ridiculous. I'm sorry, Wimp Lo is the character that is trained wrong as a joke, and he might be my favorite part of this movie on this watch 30 some odd years later. Is it him? I think he's got the quote, "My nipples look like milk duds."
Yeah.
That's a lot of nuts. Squeaky shoes is squeaky squeak.
Yeah.
Squeaky shoes, and he's always like doing this weird birdie bird. It's like there's just all this shit that I found so hilarious as a high school child, and but as I was watching this, I was like, this is kind of obnoxious. It's just very nonsensical humor. I mean, I still laughed quite a bit, but this is again like an 82-minute movie. By minute 37, I was like, okay, we still got a ways to go on this one. Also, in this movie, you get a tease for Kung Pao 2, Tongue of Fury. This is a fake trailer. A lot of people thought that this was actually a movie that was ever going to come out. It never came out. It was never in production, was never going to be a thing. And again, this is another one where critics totally pan this, and seeing this through adult eyes, I can totally see why now. But also, as I did as a child, it had become kind of a cult phenomenon on DVD, and I don't know if it was so much on cable or whatnot. You also get some pretty decent soundtrack.
Yeah.
Needle drops in this one. What was your thoughts on watching Kung Pao at the age that you are now?
Yeah, I mean, different from when I watched it as a kid for sure. This is one my brothers and I, still quote to this day. So it definitely had that impact on us from just renting it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we own the DVD eventually. The From Betty to the wheel, wheel, wheel. Like I can still make those sounds and my brother will start laughing. That there's when he's just walking, going, Neo, sparring.
All right.
Just weird shit. I don't think I think this time I had more appreciation for I hate to say the craft of it because I know it's such a stupid movie, but this is really clever
It took
the
some
way.
doing to do this.
Yeah, and Steve Odekirk does 90% of the voices. Like he's doing most of those. So that's also impressive. He's an Oscar nominee. I think it's worth pointing out
Is
for.
he really?
Yeah, he was a part of the creative team of Jimmy Neutron, which Jimmy Neutron was nominated for Best Animated Feature, and he produced it and got that
My
nomination.
friends used to say I look like Jimmy Neutron.
I could see that, like Jimmy Neutron with like a drug problem.
Yeah.
Jimmy Neutron, but he really likes a strip club.
A middle-aged Neutron goes to Vegas every month.
I was impressed with the work that Steve put into it. When I was probably a teenager, 12, 13, we finally got more than just the basic channels. And we had Stars, and Stars used to have the thumb spoofs, like the Star Wars
That's
Thumb
right.
Wars, Titanic, Thumbtanic. And they would play them in between movies, things like that. And that was Steve Odekirk. And you can see
Yeah.
that with the tongue design that he has, like, it's very much like those old, like, Thumb Wars bits, the bat
I had the
thumb.
same reaction to that thumb stuff whenever it came out as I did to the tongue today. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's just
it's weird.
it's strange.
Yeah. It's funny, but it's weird. So, yeah, I like you said, like, about halfway through, I definitely kinda get wow, this movie is so short, but it could have been, it could have been a
It could
50-minute
be 20
movie.
minutes shorter.
Yeah. And I'd be like, "Oh, cool."
When the aliens and everything start coming down
Yeah.
at the very, I'm like, this is a lot.
Yeah. Some of the specific parodies of, Shaw Brothers, like Hong Kong movies or, kung fu movies, I mean, are cool. I love there's, like, him against all of those soldiers, and it just keeps, like, quick cutting in, zooming in on all of them, like, back and forth and back and forth and back and
Yeah.
forth, which was a classic.
Which I would say of all the different genres and what that have been spoofed in the movies that we've chosen, I've probably seen the least kung fu movies.
Okay.
I have total blind spots on all the kung fu. Like I've never even seen Bruce Lee movies.
No.
I got to get me into some Hong Kong
So
cinema soon.
not to be your drug dealer again, but there's a great Bruce Lee box set that's Criterion, so it's on sale right now. I
No,
have
what?
it.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, I have it. So yeah, I have seen a bunch of these, but mainly because of that box set, and
You're not the
I
biggest
also
n
Kill Bill.
you're not the biggest Nolan fan, but you sure do use Inception quite a
I
bit.
do. It's true. I'm so excited for the Odyssey, guys, and I am not a Nolan fanboy, and this is the most excited I've ever been for a Nolan movie. I just
I
want
would
that on
agree
the
with
record, so when we revisit.
There you go. Well, yeah, there, yeah. I was in Vegas and I started. I've been reading the LA Quad trilogy
Okay.
books. I just got done reading Black Dahlia, but I'm now starting to reread the Odyssey for the first time since I guess high school. Really into it, but I carried the Odyssey with me everywhere in Vegas. Like I sat down in the Vanderpump Cocktail Lounge, and the waitress was like, "Are you reading a book?" I'm like, "I sure fucking am." And she's like, "What do you read?" I'm like, "The Odyssey." And she's like, "Why are you reading that?" Because I'm like, "It's a classic, and I'm gonna go see Christopher Nolan's movie in 2 weeks." She's like, "Oh, that's nice.
She's like, "Cool."
Are you going to a day club?" I'm like, "Nope. I'm probably gonna find another quiet spot to read this book.
Yeah.
What I go to Vegas for."
It's like, "Oh, I have friends." Yeah. What?
"You're here alone?"
You're like, "Actually, if you have a minute, did you know the Coen brothers did a loose adaptation of The Odyssey?"
Actually, I would spark conversation with some other people, like, at the and immediately I'm like, they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I do a movie podcast." They're like, "Oh, okay. What's it called?" Three Pics. And they're like, they'll get on their phone and they'll start like, "Okay, is it the number 3?" Or I'm like, you gotta, it's so THREE. And like everyone always says to me, like, I know how to spell 3.
Yeah. They're like, "Are you this pedantic on your
But,
podcast?"
since I live a very specific kind of lifestyle right now, they're like, "What do you do?" I've just started telling people I'm a sweet potato farmer,
Oh,
but
nice.
don't ask me about it because 'cause I'll yam too much.
Ooh, these are the jokes, folks. Ba-da-da-da-na-na-na-na.
Alright, I really don't have much more, I mean, I could keep going.
No. So this is a pretty good this was another pretty good double feature,
These
good
are all
pairing.
good double features.
Yeah. So in my opinion, the next movie, my pick, I think it's one of the best spoof movies ever made. And I think it's quality wise, maybe the best movie we're gonna talk about, even though I love all these movies. Every time I revisit it, I'm shocked at just how fucking good it is. This is the 2009's Black Dynamite, directed by Scott Sanders, but written and starring Michael J. White. Is it J or Jai? It's J, right? Michael J. White.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Michael J. White. And this
On.
Yes, from Spawn, the failed box office wise. I mean, that's
Failed.
another cult classic, but it
Picked up the arrow of that a couple months ago.
yeah, it didn't spawn much, is what I'm saying. This movie, this is Black Dynamite. If you can't tell from the title, this is a loving, carefully and meticulously crafted love letter to blaxploitation films, as well as a very at times cynical a slap in the face to them. To me, it's the best of spoof because it stands as its own as just ridiculous jokes that it has, the ridiculous sight gags, but it's also a good blaxploitation film as well, if you've watched any of these old movies, and it also brings up some really searing sex and race politics of the time. It takes that and really does a good job of commenting on it, that in and of itself, the quote unquote story of this is it's a 19 like this movie is supposed to be a 1970s African American action movie with this guy, Black Dynamite. Now, I don't know if you know this, Chris. Michael J. White is playing a character who is playing Black Dynamite. And they don't really go out of their way to say this, but when he wrote
Wait,
this,
what?
yes, it is so cool, and it shows you how the details in a movie really makes it. But yeah, Michael J. White, he said in an interview, I don't want to misquote him. Yeah, he says that he's playing the actor Ferrante Jones, who was a running back for the Baltimore Colts, whose career ended due to a broken neck. So he's playing this like imaginary football player who stars as Black Dynamite And
There's layers in this movie, but I didn't realize they went that deep.
it goes that deep.
That's a
Now
whole nother
you
level.
need next time you rewatch the movie, pay attention to how he moves his neck because he moves it like a guy who has sustained a neck injury. This is crazy how much he put into it. But even without those layers, on the surface, Black Dynamite is just a revenge flick. This man, Black Dynamite, his brother was killed by the man, this quote unquote, like the man killed his brother. And the man has pumped heroin into local orphanages and they flooded the ghetto with this new malt liquor, which is called, what is it? It's Anaconda
Anaconda.
Malt. Yeah. And Black Dynamite's the one guy willing to take down the man. And when I say take down the man, this movie starts as let me find out who killed my brother is like the first 20, 30 minutes of this. And you think it's just revenge. And then it goes into there's some kind of drug that's being put on the street that's taking down black men. And it becomes about that. And then by the end of the movie, it's turned into this government sized conspiracy that goes all the way to the White House, including
All the
a
way to
full on
Richard Nixon, man.
yeah, all the way to Tricky Dick. A great sequence where there's a full-on assault on the White House. I probably shouldn't say that on a microphone.
Nixon gets out nunchucks in this movie. It's
Richard,
all I gotta say.
yeah, there is a fight with Richard Nixon with nunchucks. This movie is only 85 minutes. And this is another one. I watched the deleted scenes, and there's some cool stuff in the deleted scenes, but the movie is paced perfectly. There is not a minute where I'm like, gosh, I just wish this was over or anything like that. The soundtrack is incredible. Black Dynamite is kind of like Dolomite, Rudy Ray Moore. It's not just that Eddie Murphy movie that you may have seen. Dolomite is My Name is an actual, that's a true story. Rudy Ray Moore was a blaxploitation actor, and Shaft is the most famous mainstream of these. Pam Grier with like Coffee and movies like that. If you have ever seen any of those movies, Black Dynamite nails it from the production design where you have these incredible costumes, but also some of the makeup is off or you'll have like a cool action scene, but a boom mic is in the shot in the top of the frame.
All purposeful. It's so
yeah,
good.
it's all, and they do all of this on purpose. The incredible cameos from esteemed black comedians and actors that
There's
are
more Arsenio Hall in this one.
yes, Arsenio Hall. That's true. Yeah, the more I watch it, the more I notice like small details. Like there's the Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles, but in Black Dynamite there's chili and donuts. Like they just do like little gags like that. Just cracks me up. Some amazing lines, so many good quotes. I love the you need to shut the fuck up when grown folks is talking. So that's one of my favorites. And then the other one, we're introduced to Black Dynamite in like a sex scene. It's so funny. And then it cuts to him talking to someone after it, and he's like, "Shut up! You're gonna wake the bitches up."
You're gonna wake the bitches up.
It's so
Who's
funny.
interrupting my kung fu?
It's so funny. There's the Vietnam flashbacks where he talks about the kid dying with his little Chinese legs and his little Chinese knees.
Sarcastically, I'm in charge.
I love they use the stock footage of this car. It's the same car they cut away to that keeps blowing up, and they reuse the footage a couple of times in the movie. There's the Anaconda malt liquor slogan. It's when you pop the top, the panties come off. It's so good. Just the music, the soundtrack, so good. It's a jam. I love the score. I love the song choices, and the really like the first time I saw it, I think I lost my mind at the gag that when they're trying to figure out this big drug shipment is just malt liquor, and one of the guys at Black Dynamite's crew just keeps chugging this malt liquor and saying how good he is. They go through a few scenes, and then it cuts to their friend, and they find him. And he is like surrounded by the malt liquor, and he has a little tiny prosthetic penis hanging out that I heard in the behind the scenes. They talked about they use it's like a baby pacifier that they used for the prosthetic. And so the white man has put something in the malt liquor to shrink black guys' members. And that becomes a subplot all of a sudden. It's crazy, but they play it so seriously, it works. Speaking of that, the Chili's and Donuts restaurant that they go to, there's one of my favorite scenes is Michael J. White is uncovering the conspiracy. And as an audience member, you're like, oh, yeah, I've been following along and it's really simple. But he goes through this crazy, convoluted way to explain what's happening. And he makes these obscure references that his crew will pick up on and take the ball and start, oh, and that means it's so impressive, so funny, very well written. I mean, legitimately, every movie I watch from the 70s, early 70s in the black exploitation genre, I come away with being like, man, Black Dynamite is just one of the best spoof parody movies ever made.
This is one of those comedic movies that I think of whenever, we talk about how comedies often don't get recognized at the Academy Awards, especially in like Best Picture. And to me, this is a movie that should have at least been nominated. This is of such, when you talk about the craft, the performance, the writing, I mean, the whole kit and caboodle, this thing is so stellar that this is in this year. Tell me why this could not have been nominated for Best Picture. And this was one of the, I guess this was the first or second year that we had 10 nominees. So there definitely was room because we got nominees that year. Up in the Air, which I'm an up in the Air fan.
I like it.
We had Up, which I don't like as much as I used to. We did have A Serious Man. I forget that A Serious Man actually got a
Good.
Best Picture nom, that's tremendous. Now here we go. Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire, which not a fan. We also had Inglorious Bastards, totally deserves to be there. Uneducation, which I'm so.
Not with a Best Picture nominee, but great performances.
District 9, which I thought was a piece of trash.
Huh.
Another one that I have had a hot take on before because I think Sandra Bullock is the worst actress of all time. The Blind Side.
Yeah, that's Blindside's an awful
finally,
Best Picture nominee. I love Sandra Bullock, but that's a bad nominee.
We had Avatar and then The Hurt Locker, and Hurt Locker won. So tell me this couldn't have fit in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Or movies, I know Scary Movie 6 or whatever is not going to get nominated,
No.
for an Academy Award. But if another comedy of this caliber came around, which they do not very often, especially now, we barely get comedies now.
Yeah.
But
well, they're all
totally
streaming, right?
Whenever you have that conversation and it's like, oh, you often hear like Step Brothers, and I'm like, that stuff, I don't think will ever get nominated. But this is a comedy that I think would be of such a level to get a nomination at least.
Yeah, I mean, just Michael J. White alone, his performance, that's hard to seriously keep that up. And really, screenplay is the best. I mean, it's when they're talking about the drugs where the kids, he's like, the worst thing about these pushers getting children addicted to this new smack is that these children are orphans and orphans don't have parents. Shit like that. It's just too quotable. What is it? He's like, at last our friendship bonded by a struggle against the man has been brought to an end by kung fu treachery. It's one of the most quotable movies of that era. 2000s, that 2009 era. Man, yeah, if you haven't seen Black Dynamite, what are you doing? Watch it. There's a great animated show too that they did after that's worth tracking down. I don't know if that's streaming anywhere anymore.
I picked up this is another one where I got a really cheap
Yeah.
Blu-ray. I think it was like $10 or something like that.
Most of these movies, with the exception of UHF, maybe, I don't, and some of the ones coming up, there's no 4Ks of them even.
It says Letterboxd is saying that this is actually available on Tubi, which you could. I know there's a lot of other blaxploitation on
Yeah,
Tubi
yeah.
as well. You could just have a whole day of that.
But yeah, that's good. Hell yeah. Yeah, Black Dynamite. Just go watch it right now. Stop this podcast and just go watch Black Dynamite.
All right. We're already on my third pick. What's the name of the podcast? 3 Picks. Yeah, we're at 3 Picks.
Wait, how do you spell that?
TRTA. No, wait, it's got to be your bull.
It's
3. Pick number 3 for Chris. All right. The Millennial. Hold on. I need some Millennial Man Plus. I can taste the blood of the camel in there.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Sounds religious.
So my third pick is actually my personal favorite spoof movie of all time. This is a movie that I watched over and over and over again, like on HBO, Showtime, whenever I was a kid, especially during, it's summertime right now. Some of you kiddies are at home off of school. I don't know why you're listening to this podcast. Go do something more productive with your life. But if you are still listening, here's what you do. You need to go and you need to watch Hot Shots Part 2.
Yeah.
Part 2. Not just Hot Shots 2, it's Part 2, which means two, by the way. I think. Does it mean two? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Two.
it does.
Dos is two in Spanish.
Yeah.
So we've got this is a classic from Jim Abrahams, who also did what
Airplane.
he did Airplane, Police Squad, Top Secret, the original Hot Shots, and it's
Mafia.
written by him. And yeah, that's right, Mafia, which I had just watched that for the first time as a part of this research. I keep on meaning to make it to the Pepper Mill, man. That's an actual place to go to. It also stars whatever you personally think of him. He's a miserable human being, but Charlie Sheen is in this. And I personally consider Charlie Sheen to be one of, if not the best, spoof actors of all time. To me, he is on Mount Rushmore with like Leslie Nielsen, with
Leslie.
Lloyd Bridges. I think he is absolutely amazing in this movie. But yeah, Hot Shots Part 2 is a bit of a spoof on Rambo movies. There were multiple at this point in time. So this was like 93, I think. Was this 93? Yeah, 1993. So we had just gotten done with all the 80s action stuff with Stallone, with Schwarzenegger. That was starting to go into a little bit of decline, but we made sure to get our spoof in on this because it's not just Rambo, it's just 80s action in general. You get a little Missing in action, you get Apocalypse Now, Terminator 2, a little Basic Instinct is in there as well. And so where do we find ourselves? Well, there is a secret covert mission. We start off with a secret covert mission at Saddam's palace. And a little bit of context. At this point in time, the U.S. was obsessed with Saddam Hussein. He had just gotten out of, like, Saddam Hussein parody stuff was just like all over the place. And I don't know I don't know if I know who exactly plays Saddam in this, but he is the spitting image of Mr. Saddam Hussein at that point in time. A lot of people thought he was actually in it.
It's Jerry Holliba.
Okay.
He also plays Saddam in the dream sequence in Big Lebowski.
No kidding.
Yeah. He gives him the bowling shoes.
He's a dead ringer, emphasis on the dead. Where do we find it? It's a secret mission outside of Saddam's palace. And as we are getting into this mission, we get a insight into Saddam Hussein's nightly rituals. He's making himself lunch for the next day, and he's wrapping his sandwiches up in Saharan wrap. Within the first 5 minutes, he fucks a handy vac. He's eating, and then he just takes the handy vac down to himself, and he puts on his eye mask, and he goes to sleep. And then through a series of unfortunate events, he wakes up, everybody's shooting everything, and our team gets taken hostage. And so the president is informed of this, of course, played by the amazing Lloyd Bridges, who has some amazing one-liners. And I come to find out he like improvs a lot of this, which is so amazing. He knows that with his previous experience, President Thomas Tug Benson, who was an admiral or some shit in the first movie, he knows that there is only going to be one man for this job, and that is Charlie Sheen's Topper Harley. And so he sends the beautiful, I don't know what happened to her, where she's been, but Brenda Back, again, I'm going to have some pronunciation issues here. Brenda Backey plays Michelle Huddleston, one of my childhood crushes. What she also was in, she was Cordelia in Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight.
Yeah. And she's in, isn't she in LA Comp?
She was Laura Turner in LA Confidential. I think she was the chick in the bathroom in Under Siege 2 Dark Territory.
Chick in the bathroom in Under Siege. This is maybe her best
bra breaks or something like that.
Of course it does.
I forget who she's in Under Siege 2, but I would imagine that might be who it is.
That's great. Yeah, beautiful.
And then you also have Richard Crenna, who is literally playing a parody of the character that he plays in the Rambo movies as Colonel Denton Walters. And so both Colonel Denton Walters and Michelle Huddleston go to a monastery where Topper Harley has taken like an oath of celibacy, as he says, just like his father's and his father's father.
So good.
And so when they're at the monastery, and this is what I love about Hot Shots and spoof movies in general, is that this movie is not so much about it's got tremendous one-liners, but it's not always about the dialogue. It's about the visual gags.
Yeah.
And there's always like something going on in the background. So as the Colonel is convincing Topper Harley through the story of the three bears to convince him to come back to service, you get Michelle Huddleston in the background and all the monks doing different things to try to impress her. Like one monk throws off of his robes and he's a bodybuilder. One has a dog and is doing dog tricks. And it's just all that kind of extra stuff. Even I like signage, like just
Yeah.
signage in some of these movies because it's just hilarious, all the visual stuff. And so from there, we then Topper then assembles a wonderful group of soldiers to go with him, including Ryan Stiles and Miguel Ferrer is
Yeah.
in there, and he is absolutely fantastic. One of his favorite lines in this: "War, it's fantastic." And so they assemble, and one of the guys is a demolition guy, but he was on this old mission called Paddywhack, and he goes, "Paddywhack, you give a dog a bone, sir." The play on words. And we then get into a bit of this. They have to go up the river to Saddam's palace, which I don't even know if any of that is geographically accurate or not.
They don't care.
But it's basically an Apocalypse Now kind of parody. And one of the greatest kind of meta moments in film history is Charlie Sheen sitting on this boat, writing in a journal, and you can hear his internal dialogue. And then all of a sudden, you can hear Martin Sheen, his internal dialogue. And their two boats end up passing, and they just look at each other and they say, "I loved you in Wall Street."
Yeah.
It's so great.
I love that
And
moment.
this is around this my favorite gag for some reason. This has just stuck with me forever. Is on I guess they're on the plane before this. And Charlie Sheen is reading a book, and the demolition guy comes up to him, I think, and asks him, "What are you reading?" And he says, "Great Expectations." And he asks, "Well, how is it?" And he's like, "Well, it's not all I hope for."
Yeah.
And so eventually we meet up with on the mission. There's kind of an undercover agent, I guess, and this turns out to be Miss Ramada Thompson, played by Valeria Golino, who
Yeah.
again responsible for many special moments in my younger life.
We just
Most
talked another
notably,
one we talked about,
yeah. So she, she comes from Rain Man,
Escape from LA.
Escape from L.A., kind of plainish, the same kind of thing. But we get the backstory on she had to leave him. "Sorry, I thought that you were going with me," or something like that. Is
Yeah.
what she says. Is in on the card that she sends him at the train station. We go through the mission and we finally get to some of the prisoners, and one of the prisoners just happens to be Ramada's they're married, and he's played by Rowan Atkinson, and
Mr.
the
Bean.
reason that what's that? Mr. Bean. And the reason that Rowan Atkinson cannot get out of prison is because guess what? They've tied his shoelaces together.
Yeah.
And so we rescue the dudes. There's this big, awesome sequence where there's an actual kill count
Yeah.
on screen. At this point in time, I mean, Terminator 2, like around this time, hundreds of people were dying in movies.
Yeah,
We were
Rambo
shooting and
especially.
killing all sorts of, yeah, Rambo was especially notorious for it. And so there's an actual literal kill count on screen during the climactic battle. And then we end this in front of a helicopter, and Michelle and Ramada are talking about these secret pleasures that they had, like when they were in college and they would experiment and they didn't know if they were going to go too far or not. And like the Colonel, played by Richard Crenna, is like getting really hot and bothered, and da-da-da. And then Ramada's finally like, "Who knew bungee jumping could be so dangerous?" And he's like, "Bungee jumping." With some of my other favorite quotes from this movie, there's sequence where Miguel Ferrer, like all of a sudden in the middle of the battle, gets depressed and like starts crying, and he can't fight anymore. He says, "Topper, I can kill again. You've given me a reason to live," and it's all because Topper Harley was like, "Okay, wipe those tears away, rainy face." So good. But yeah, this is my personal favorite spoof movie. I think it's often considered one of the best. I don't hear it talked about too terribly much in comparison to stuff like Naked Gun or some of the other movies that
Yeah.
we talked about. But for what it's worth, minute for minute, I laughed so much during this one. It's a classic for me, and I've watched it twice in the last 2 weeks, and I laughed
Yeah.
every bit of it.
Yeah, I love Hot Shots as a series. I think I prefer the second one. It just makes me laugh
Mhm.
more. I
Yeah,
mean,
and that's a lot of people's thoughts.
mhm.
And I did rewatch Hot
Hot
Shots
Shots is
as
good.
well. And Hot Shots is great, but Hot Shots Part 2 just is a whole it stepped it up. And
Yeah,
God, man, I wish we got more of these.
I
I
know.
wish we had more of these.
I kind of was thinking with, well, Jim Abrams has been dead for a couple of years, but I know Zuckers are still around. But I was kind of thinking with the big, Top Gun Maverick success, it seems like a good time to do a third Hot Shots. That would be pretty great. And you could do Charlie Sheen with like a young actor. I don't know.
I think it would work. I think we could
I think it'd be
get this
great.
going. I forgot to mention that President Tug, Lloyd Bridges, gets in on the action at the end, the
Yeah.
climax of the movie, and he has this classic showdown with Saddam Hussein. It's a total parody of Empire Strikes Back. You got lightsabers going. Saddam tells President Tug, "I'm gonna kill you till you're dead."
Yeah. It so ruthlessly makes fun of Saddam Hussein.
Very.
Just doesn't flinch.
And then the Terminator 2 aspect of
The
this is he
dog.
gets roasted. Him and his dog. He breaks, and then just like a Terminator 2, whenever it gets melted back together, it's in front of a fireplace. He gets kind of melded with his dog. The the fight at the very beginning, you get introduced to Charlie Sheen through the fight with like the like warrior dude, and the warrior dude puts like nuts and bolts and razor blades on his fists, and then Topper Harley goes around to like a Sunday bar and gets caramel on his wrist, sprinkles. Like it's that nonsensical shit in these movies that they play totally seriously. That just it's so spectacular.
It's great. My favorite is Ramada talking to Topper when Topper is surprised that she's married, and she says, "I'm married. I was married before we ever met, and I'm still married today." And he goes, "You're joking." She says, "I'm not." He goes, "You've got to be." And she goes, "If I was joking, I would say a horse walks into a bar. The bartender says, 'Why the long face?'" And Topper goes, "You are married." That whole moment, I don't know why. That's my favorite. I laugh so hard.
We tearing off pieces of her clothing because some of the dudes get wounded,
Yeah,
and Ryan Stiles has like a splinter or something
yeah.
in his finger. She just keeps ripping her clothes off.
It's so good. I mean, really, they're the legends, the Zaz as they were known, Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker. And my pick is actually a Zaz pick as well.
Yeah, it
This is
is.
one of I would maybe classify it as their most underrated that they did. You don't really hear too many people talk about it, but this is from almost 10 years before Hot Shots Part 2, and it's 7 years after Airplane. This is Top Secret. Val Kilmer, in his first role in a movie ever, gets the lead in this.
I didn't realize until I was reading about it this morning that this was the very first thing
Yeah,
that he did.
it's his very first. They found he had auditioned. He was doing a like a theater, like a play, and yeah, this was his first movie, which is crazy. Also, really weird that even though he was an unknown, he was dating Cher at the time of this movie as well.
Well,
Crazy.
I want to
Good.
be surprised, but Val Kilmer at this point in time doing what he was doing in this
Yeah.
movie, dude's a stud,
It
man.
he really is. So Top Secret, the whole idea is what if we made a spoof movie with German World War II spy movies and Elvis Presley, goes to the beach movies, really.
Yeah.
And so it's about this American singer, Nick Rivers, who goes to East Germany to perform at a music festival, and he falls in love with this girl and gets in the middle of this like top secret resistant underground resistance movement. And so the movie really like that is the story. Like it is literally just even though for some reason World War II is over and the Nazis are still Naziing, and this American singer gets involved in taking down these Germans, and you're not really ever sure about the stakes or why. It just is, it's we know like these guys are bad. It's very, very loose narratively structured. It just kind of goes from scene to scene to scene. It has two amazing veteran actors in it. Omar Sharif is in this.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, one of the only like broad comedies he ever did, and he is stellar in it. He doesn't have a crazy amount of scenes, but every scene he does is fantastic. He even gets the
A little bit
opening.
different from Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, I know. This is Oscar nominated Omar Sharif from Lawrence of Arabia. And In the very first scene, he's fighting a soldier on a train, and like they're on the top of the train, and the soldier, like it's one of those classic, the train tunnel is coming, and the soldier's standing up, and he just like goes through the tunnel like like it just breaks around him, but he's still standing. Just stupid. Like right off the bat, you're like, oh, this is a stupid movie. It has one of the funniest introductions, in my opinion, to the lead character, kind of like a Topper Harley, like Nick Rivers, this Elvis Presley figure that Val Kilmer plays. The introduction to him is his hit song "Skeet Surfin'," which it goes to like a little montage of and this is obviously like Surfin' USA. It's just a direct ripoff, but these surfers are literally on surfboards with shotguns, skeet shooting. And I've seen this movie since I was a kid. I've probably seen it 10 or 12 times. So I bought this on 4K a while back. And so this time I watched it with the commentary from all three of the directors, from Abrams and the Zuckers. And my favorite trivia about this movie is that this first opening number, musical number, Skeet Surfing, it came about because the Zucker brothers, when they were doing PR work, being interviewed in print for Airplane, different movies like that, they had a thing where it was who could come up with the most outlandish bullshit story and get them to print it as if it were real. And so one of them in an interview talked about how he grew up. It was an interview with like someone from like England, and he was like, "Oh, we grew up, on the coast, skeet surfing all the time, And the interviewer was like, "Oh, what is that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, you just get your favorite shotgun, and you hit the waves, and they pull the skeet, and like." So it's literally from just them bullshitting in an interview, just because they thought that was funny to do. That this whole skeet surfing comes about,
I
and
think a lot of people in Vegas think I'm a sweet potato farmer now.
exactly. I think the star power from Val Kilmer really carries this movie. He does all of his singing and dancing, and Val Kilmer, when God rest his soul, but when he was alive, he was a crazy Elvis fan. So he really was born to do this and had the opportunity to play as Elvis in a movie that will probably be a pick of mine eventually. He commits. Like the scenes with him, even though they're silly. In fact, speaking of silly, he has a song called "How Silly Can You Get?" that they just do in the middle of the movie, this song and dance number. And he's got a guitar that he literally just throws up in the air and someone takes it away. He has a mic stand that as he's doing the classic, singer, like leaning on the mic stand, he keeps leaning and the mic stand just stretches and stretches and stretches as he leans almost all the way to the floor. Really great visual gags in this. One of my favorites, Omar Sharif, he plays this resistance spy. In one of the meetups in a junkyard, he's betrayed, and this magnet picks up the car that he's in, and it takes him to the crusher. And so it cuts to a hotel room where this woman who's supposed to meet with him, like he knocks on the door and she opens it up, and Omar Sharif is in a compact cube of metal. He survived the car being crushed into a little cube. And they said how they did it was they had a little person in an Omar Sharif mask that they had made, and anytime that Omar's character had to walk in this as a compacted, crushed square person, it was a little person inside a suit, and then otherwise it was Omar. And the woman that he meets, who's the love interest, Lucy Gutteridge, is the love interest of Nick Rivers. She's very attractive, and she's trying to get information from Omar Sharif's character. I'm sorry, it makes me laugh so hard. I have to compose myself.
We just do this podcast to make ourselves laugh.
I know. So she leans over him because he's trying to give her this file or something. It's like the MacGuffin. He's trying to give it to her, but she's like, "Can you reach in the glove box?" And so he's like trying to move inside of this crushed car, and the wipers go off, and all these different things. And then she leans over him, and her bosom is in his face, and then the car antenna starts going up. So stupid. I literally in the commentary, they were like, "Yep, it's an erection joke." And then David Zucker goes, "Don't worry, guys, we're done with any kind of penis jokes." And then it cuts to the ballet with the ballet where all the male Russian dancers have insane, oversized, stuffed fronts. I mean, just crazy cartoonish packages. So stupid and so funny. And you see the ladies in the opera freaking out with their little binoculars. I mentioned this in my review on Letterboxd. Seeing the commentary version, it's interesting how they kind of don't seem to like the movie that much. The directors, they felt like they missed the mark because of the story. In fact, I think a direct quote from one of them is like Airplane is a movie and Top Secrets, is like a joke book. And I don't disagree with that criticism. The narrative hangs by a thread. It goes from one thing to another. All of a sudden Nick Rivers gets arrested and he's in prison. But the jokes are so funny. When he is arrested in prison, it cuts to him, he's doing the prisoner chalk marks on the wall, and his agent comes in to bail him out of jail, and he's like, "Thank God I've been here." And he looks at the marks on the wall and goes, "20 minutes already." And that's the thing. I just think the jokes in this are so good. I do think the production design and the acting's really good too. So say what you want from a story standpoint. I understand their criticisms, but I mean, so many of my favorite bits are in this.
Interesting thing with spoof movies is that the story is not necessarily all that important, but you
Yeah.
can tell the difference in spoof movies that don't have any story,
Yeah.
like Scary Movie 5,
Yes. That's true.
and just having that one tiny bit of through line makes all of the successful spoofs that we've talked about, successful.
Yeah.
So it's a strange thing where it's like story's not the most important part, and so it's interesting to hear that that's their criticism
Yeah.
kind of it, because I had no issue with the story. Like that didn't bother me at all, because I'm like, hey, we're not here necessarily for the story, but you still have to have one.
When Nick is on the train with his agent, and he looks like he's doing a portrait of his agent, but he's really just looking at the trees outside going by fast on the train, and his painting that he's doing is just a blurry mess of trees. That the Raiders of the Lost Ark, they do like in Raiders of the Lost Ark when they travel and Spielberg cuts to like the plane over the map. They do that in this movie, but it turns out it's just like Pac-Man. It's like the dots going through the streets.
Dude, and that would have been a very fresh
Oh yeah.
pull,
For
because what
yeah,
Raiders was
81?
81, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was just a few years.
There's a gunfight where the Kilmer's he's shooting from a window, but he and whoever is shooting at are playing a game of tic-tac-toe with their gunshots. So one bullet will come in from the enemy and it creates an X on the window, and then Kilmer like shoots out and it creates a circle. Really stupid stuff that just works so well. There's a scene with a cow wearing boots, which is classic. It's in the movie poster.
On a roof.
A house. There's these cows, and they're being looked at through the binocular, and the camera has the binocular cutout, over it. And then the cows step over the cutout of the binocular. They go past it. Little stuff like that. There's a great sex toy bit when he's in prison. Val Kilmer tells his agent that he got him, a gift, and it's this anal intruder. Is what it's called, this big sex toy. And literally in a scene just right after, it turns out that his agent died. And they were like, yeah, they found this, this toy, stuck in him. I don't know if it's a police officer. One of them says like it took two hours to get the smile off from his face. And then my favorite segment that I think is really clever is the backwards bookstore scene.
Oh,
So
that's mine too. That's so cool.
yeah. Peter Cushing, the other legendary actor in this from the old Hammer horror movies, Star Wars, he plays this bookseller in just this one-off scene where
He's on for like 3 minutes.
Lucy Gutteridge and Val Kilmer, they go into this bookstore and it sounds like they're speaking Swedish. And so there's subtitles. There's an odd way that they're moving.
It's Lynch. It's Black Lodge, dude.
Yes, yeah, it's very much like Black Lodge, and you see once they start moving the books around, you see this is in reverse. Like it looks like Kilmer is throwing a book up high on the shelf, and it's really crazy.
One of the most actually impressed. This whole fight thing that happens is one of the most impressive things I think I've ever seen on film.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And on the Blu-ray or the 4K, they provide the scene in how it was shot, and it's really cool because you see how much effort, and Kilmer especially does really good with his physicality, the way he walks and talks and the way he has to make surprised expression and then do something surprising. It's because they're shooting it, backwards. It's really cool. I recommend checking that out on the Blu-ray or 4K if you haven't. YouTube probably has it. It's probably there. But yeah, I could gush about this movie all day. I love Top Secret. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
Watch it.
this was a first time watch for me. I don't know how this one. I mean, I'm such a big Jim Abrahams and Naked Gun are my
Yeah.
favorite trilogy of comedies probably.
Amazing.
And you also get I loved seeing
Yeah.
Michael Gow, who's the Alfred in the Burton Batman movies
Yeah.
through the Schumacher ones as well. Die gets a disease in Batman and Robin.
Jesus.
But it was just strange seeing him in something else. I've seen him in so little, aside from like I think Sleepy Hollow,
Mhm.
and so seeing him in this was like very. And you said you had seen this since you were a kid, so
Yeah.
it wasn't weird. But I was like, man, that's Alfred
Yeah.
in the movie. But yeah, I was gonna say that my favorite thing about this movie is that the bookstore fight, and I wonder if there's anything out there if this inspired Lynch in any way to use this stuff, because it's got to be. I think it's literally the exact same way
Yeah.
that he shoots the Black Lodge, because you even hear like the footsteps, kind of. I mean, it's
Mhm.
very. I saw it. I was like, oh my god, that's fucking Twin Peaks,
This is
man.
Twin Peaks. You like Twin Peaks?
A little bit, a little bit.
Oh, the miniature. Did you notice this? There's a scene where they look out the window to escape, and there's a miniature set, and then there's like mice that run through. It's like it looks like it's just a road, like looking down from a high up a building, and there's little
I don't
miniature
remember
cars,
that.
and then there's mice that like normal size mice look like they're giant. It's a short, it's a few seconds. It's right before
When
he
I
gets arrested, and on the commentary, they were like, "Yeah, we were shooting in Pinewood Studios overseas, and we found the miniature from the 1978 Superman, like, when they're looking down from the sky, and so we were like, 'Oh, let's just throw that in the movie, that'll be funny.'"
No, and one of my things that I saw in my research for this movie is that they aim to put one joke in every single shot that would lead to like repeated viewings and like seeing new shit going on in the background. So I've only seen this movie once. I've got another probably at least 10 years of my life where I'll be watching this over and over again and getting to see all those different layers. And then that is another wonderful thing I think about all these spoof movies. You can be looking in the back. You can always notice something new
Yes.
in these movies.
Yeah, no, and we both watched a lot of spoof movies. As we always say in these episodes, these aren't the definitive bests of this category. These are just our picks. Hopefully, inspiring you to see something other than just like maybe like the classic Mel Brooks spoof movies and
Yeah,
parodies.
if you
Like
like Airplane, check one of these out.
exactly, yeah, I love this genre. Naked Gun with Liam Neeson was great last year. I hope they keep making dumb, stupid movies
That
like
well,
this.
they did really well with that, I thought. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. So I don't oh no, I do remember. So our next episode is going to be Five Quills, which is the fifth movie in a franchise. It doesn't have to be a direct sequel in the sense of Halloween 5, but
Installment in the IP.
yeah, it has to be landing in the fifth slot, whether that's a direct sequel or a remake-will or whatever the fuck they're doing these days. So that'll be our next episode. If you liked this episode and you like movie podcasts, subscribe, Spotify, Apple Music. We're on YouTube as well. We're awful with marketing. The few of you that always reach out to me and talk to me about the episodes, thank you. Every episode I'll shout out a different one of you. Joshua,
I
shout out
I have
Joshua.
yet to check my fan email account that I created for this, but I know it's gotta be, like, overflowing right
It's
now.
so much. It's really just spam from Vegas events trying to get you to come back. Have you
I
thought
did.
about it?
I was at my favorite burger joint last night, and I got into a conversation with a couple of guys, and they actually subscribed like right in front of me on Spotify, and I was like, "Welcome to the millions of fans, man."
Yeah, you're like, it's gonna be hard to pay attention to y'all with all of the other millions of fans, but thank you. But yeah, this is Three Picks, the podcast. Instagram, Letterboxd, all the stuff. We're on all that. Your beer yoga movies on Letterboxd, and
Beer yoga movies on
yeah, and
Letterboxd. And we're gonna get better. We were making lists for the episodes. We'll get
we'll
back
do that
to
again.
that very
Yeah, we've
quickly.
had so many medical issues and bullshit happen in our lives. So the summer's been crazy, but we're getting back. We're also, I know pretty soon, sometime after the Odyssey, we're going to do our 10 best of the year so far. So get ready for that, y'all.
Sneak peek. Mine has sheep in it.
Oh my gosh. I hope it does. I love Sheep Detective. If you don't like Sheep Detective, don't tell me because
Don't
I,
ever.
I don't want to know about you not liking
Uh,
joy and fun. Okay. Well, surely we can't be done.
Don't call me Shirley.